All right, good morning, everyone. My name is Scott Paquette. I'm the Assistant Director of the TRIO Upward Bound Educational Talent Search Programs. Today we have Bristol Community College's Financial Aid Office that's going to talk to you today about the 2024-2025 FAFSA, go over the overview, and then answer any questions that you guys all may have. So at this time, I'm going to turn it over to the Director of Financial Aid at Bristol Community College, Elena Marcotte.
Hi everybody, good morning. Thank you for being here with me. I'm going to try not to bore you. I know that this stuff seems overwhelming and boring. So I have a few slides, we'll go over it. There's a lot of information on some of them. So I'll go through those quickly, and then I really want to hear questions and be able to answer any questions you guys might have and make this a little less of a scary thing for you, because I can promise you that it's not as hard as what it seems. So with that being said, I also have the Associate Director of our Financial Aid Department, Brittany Forand here. She's a little more shy, so she won't present with me, but she'll help answer questions. Go ahead. All right, so the 24-25 FAFSA, that opened in the end of December, and it has been overhauled like never before. They've made a lot of changes to it. So I don't know if any of you have had to fill out a FAFSA before. Maybe you've tinkered around with it, maybe not. But they've made a lot of changes. And the goal is to make it easier. Overall, in most circumstances, it is. However, there's a few things that you need to know to be able to be successful when filling it out. Now, why do you need to fill out a FAFSA? It's a free application. It's for all financial aid. So state aid, federal aid, student loans, work study. If you want access to any of that for college, you have to fill one of these out. And you have to do it every year. It renews every year. We review and evaluate what you're eligible for every year that you're in college, all the way through if you decide to be doctors someday. So we want you to get used to it. Keep going. This is a really heavy text slide, so I'll try to condense it for you. There's a link up here that's studentaid.gov. The very first thing that you need to do before you can do anything else is create a username and password. It's called an FSA user ID and password. It's easy to create. It's asking you general questions: your name, your date of birth, your social, your address. Just generic things that you'll be able to fill out by yourself. You will need to have an email address because they'll want to confirm that with you, and a cell phone number. Now, most of you in this room, if not all of you, will also need to have a parent, legal guardian, contributor of the household fill this out as well. Same exact process you would do, but they need to put their own information in. That needs to be done a few days prior to you guys completing a FAFSA form. Because what happens is this acts as your electronic signature for everything. So they send your information to Social Security Administration, confirm that you are who you say you are, and then they come back and say, welcome, you can now fill out your FAFSA form. And they do the same thing for your parents. It takes like 5 minutes or less, not a lot of questions. So I said the word contributor or parent. Who is a contributor? So you're a contributor. Biological or adoptive parent is a contributor. If your parent is remarried, say you have a step parent, they may be a contributor. Depends, we'll get into that. And then, why do you need your parent data? Well, the Department of Ed says anyone who's under 24, who's not married, who doesn't support children of their own is considered dependent. That, they don't care that you pay your own bills, or maybe you don't even live with mom or dad, unfortunately. They still consider you dependent. They still want parental data on your FAFSA form. There are some circumstances that we will review as a college where parent data can't be provided, and that's okay. We would walk through that with you. But in general, in most scenarios, you will need parent data, at least one parent. All right, go ahead. All right, I kind of went over this already, but what the FAFSA is going to be looking at for data is parent social, student social. They're going to be pulling in tax information. What's cool about this year is, as long as you've set up your FSA user ID and password, you don't even need to bring your taxes anymore. In the past, we'd have to have you print out your parents' taxes. If you filed taxes, print those out, try to pull the information from the taxes. They pull all of that for you now. You don't even have to fill it out. The FAFSA does it for you, assuming that you've set everything up in advance. They can pull all of that information from the IRS. And then there's some other circumstances. They may ask a parent, like, do they receive child support for children in the household? That might be questions that they would ask aside from data that's reported to the IRS.
Mention the consent because that's new this year.
Yes, thank you, Brittany. Not on this slide. So what's new this year is, and what you'll see when you fill out the FAFSA, whether that be with someone from Bristol when we come in and assist you, or you come in and meet with us, or you go somewhere else, or do it all by yourself, it's going to require you to give consent for them to pull your information from the IRS, whether you filed taxes or not. It's also going to ask the same of your parent or whoever the contributor is that you're reporting on the FAFSA. If you do not give consent, if they do not give consent, that's it. It stops you. It says you're not eligible then. So you have to give consent. And the way that it's formatted is that we're seeing is we'll go in, the student will fill out their information, and then it'll send a link to your parent through the email address that they've chose, so the parent can click on the link and go in and fill out their portion or give consent as well.
So that link will only get sent if you know your parent's social, their date of birth, their name, and their email address. If you don't know those things, you won't be able to send the link to them. So that's why I included to know your parent's social, so that they can get the link and they'll just click the link, and it's pretty simple. Once they log in, they fill out their portion and then it's submitted.
All right, we can go to the next slide, I believe. All right, so all this being said, I've thrown some information at you. Maybe you took it in, maybe you're zoning out somewhere and thinking about what you're gonna do the rest of the day, because I do the same thing. If you haven't retained any information, know that Bristol is going to be offering a FAFSA party on February 10th. It's a Saturday, the day before the Super Bowl. It's Super Bowl themed. Come in your favorite sports attire. You can come to the campus and we will help you fill all this out. You can bring your parents to the campus too, and they can come visit and help fill this out as well. We're gonna have every single person from our department there to help. Prizes, games, giveaway, food. We're gonna have a little party. So we'll make it fun, because I like to make things fun. Otherwise, what's the point? So if you guys want to attend this, this is the first event. I'm sure we will have more. And we also do walk-ins and appointments as well. There's a QR code. I also have a bunch of flyers printed out, and you can just scan it. We ask that you register just so that I can know how many pizzas I need to order, how much food I need, how many prizes I need. I won't know that if I don't have an idea of how many people are coming. So I do suggest that you register, but if you happen to forget and you're like, oh, I'm free this Saturday, what can I do? Oh, they're doing a FAFSA party, and you didn't register, that's okay too. But just try to if you can. Who's got questions? No questions? See that? And was it hard? It was okay? Did you have somebody help you, or did you do it yourself?
My older sister.
Okay, cool.
It's her first year in college, so
Yep.
I went through this process, so she helped me with that too.
That's awesome. It is a lot easier than it used to be. We've tested it. They've rolled it out, we've tested it. They are trying to cut down on the number of questions that they ask you. I can see it. Somebody has a question. Were you gonna ask a question? No? Come on. Okay, go ahead.
So I had already filled it out
Mm-hmm.
with mine and my dad's, but mine was submitted before my dad's was.
Okay.
And because of that, he didn't technically sign mine, so it says it can't generate my SLI.
Yep.
But it gave me things like if I was eligible for Pell Grant and that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So what can I do about that?
I will
Topic
say
of
that there are some kinks they're working out right now. Like I said, they did a huge overhaul that they've never done before, and there is a list of issues that families are running into that they're working on resolving. If you find within the next, and I'll preface all this with saying it's available for you to fill out, but they're not even sending the schools the data yet. The earlier you fill it out, the better, because for Massachusetts, a lot of their state programs, they require you to have it filled out by May 1st. So you want to do it before then. But they haven't even started sending them to the schools yet for us to be able to evaluate and award you. But if you find over the next month or so it's still not allowing you, feel free to email us and we can help you, or give us a call. We'll try to help walk you through it. or stop in. We're available. Somebody else had their hand up.
She did.
My mom had done my FAFSA first, and then we did it like the opposite way. She had done it, and then it got sent to my email.
Yep.
It said that I didn't have her signature, but I filled out my signature on mine, and then it got sent to my mom. My mom, like I sent it to her, and I said, you need to go back and do your signature. She did her signature, and then it like automatically like submitted everything once we had everything signed. And then I got the same email saying that I didn't sign it and that I can have an SAI even though I did sign it. And I had talked to like our financial people here. They
Yeah.
said that it is like a glitch that a lot of people are having, but
Yeah.
I can go back in at the end of the month, right?
In a perfect world, you should be able to go back in and edit it within a day of making an edit previously. Sometimes if it's been too soon, they're still processing whatever you submitted previously and you have to wait for that to go through. But I think that that's probably just a known error of this new FAFSA form that they've done, and they are tracking what errors people are submitting and trying to work on them as they come up. So I would say by middle of February, if that's not resolved, reach out to us.
Yeah.
Or if you have a financial aid person that you're working with here, have them check too. Because they're working on it daily. These issues come up. You know, anytime you try to launch new software, there's always something. So they try to work on it as the complaints come in, and some of them are easy fixes and some of them are maybe a little bit more complex. So, but let us know. If in a couple weeks they don't resolve it, let us know. Does someone else have a question? Does everybody understand who you would need to have, or let me rephrase that. Does anyone have a question about maybe who they would need to have on the FAFSA aside from themselves, or do you guys feel like you're pretty clear about who you actually need to include on there? Okay. And like I said, there are extenuating circumstances where parent data is not on there for a large number of reasons. If you find that you're confused about who needs to be a contributor or how you would not include a contributor, that's something that we would process with you. And that happens more frequently than you would think. So if you have questions about that, please don't hesitate to reach out to us and we'll help walk you through that.
She has a question.
But it will only let me send it to one parent. Like when
Yep.
I try and send it to the other one, it doesn't.
Are your parents married?
Yeah.
So as long as they filed their taxes together, only one parent needs to sign it.
Mm-hmm.
Will it like not let me send it to the other parent?
Well, so what happens is it's only pulling, once whatever parent set up their user ID and password, that's who they're going to prompt information for. Like, so say your mom created a user ID and password and your parents are married and you're trying to send it to your dad. It's copying the information used for the FSA user ID and password you created. It's going to pull your dad's information anyways off of the tax forms.
Correct. But I have seen where we send it to one parent, that parent fills it out, and then it asks that parent for the other parent's information.
Okay. Because like they made accounts like before to my brother's in college
Yep.
now.
Yep.
And it's like my mom made an account, but it won't let me send it to her. It'll only let me send it to my dad.
Is it giving you an error message saying that something's not matching?
Yeah, that's what it says.
Okay, so you would want to see what the error message is, because a lot of students I've seen, they're putting in the wrong email. So it has to be the exact email account that's already linked to their FSA ID. So just confirm the information that you're putting is matching her account that's already been made.
Right, like if she put her college ID or a different, email for her FSA ID as a student, and that's what she's using to sign your stuff, you have to make sure that that email address she used for her student data is the same email that you're trying to send it to. So what happens once you submit it is once they actually release the information to the schools, we receive it, and then whatever schools that you list on there will put you through their own in-house awarding process. Do you qualify for state grants? Do you qualify for the Pell Grant? Do you qualify for federal student loans? We look at all the funds that are available for you aside from external scholarships. Those usually like the student has to apply for on their own. But any state and federal aid that you would qualify for, we do all of that. So once we get it, we review everything. Sometimes they'll flag your FAFSA for us to collect documentation to confirm that what was submitted is correct. If that's the case, typically it's not until you're admitted to a college and you have, you've applied to whatever degree program you want to go into. We have an email address on file for you. We'll email you and say, hey, looks like we need whatever document it is for your financial aid to be complete. So we'll notify you. I will say, and this is for any school, because of all the changes that have happened, let's take a look at last year, for example. I think I sent out award letters in March of last year. You guys probably won't be getting award letters till like May this year for most colleges because of the delay with all of the processing that they're doing. So, it might be, you might submit it and then not hear anything for a little while because we don't even have access to what you're submitting currently.
So are we gonna have to commit before we find out our FAFSA? Because like a lot of my schools, I would need to see my FAFSA to know if I'm gonna commit.
I can't answer for the competitive schools. Like at a community college, you don't have to commit like that. For a competitive school, they're each going to have their own requirements. All schools are in the same boat, so I think it would be pretty unfair of them to require you to make a commitment before they can even give you some sort of estimate. What were you going to add to that?
It was pretty much the same thing. I have a feeling that schools are going to have to push back their deadlines because schools aren't even going to start receiving their FAFSAs until they're saying the end of this month, but software upgrades need to happen. So if those software upgrades haven't happened, they can't download anything.
Yeah.
So they're going to have to be flexible with their students. If there's a specific school that you really want to go to and you're having like questions like I want to commit but I don't know what I'm going to get, I would just reach out to the specific school and see what they say.
Yeah. Maybe they would require some sort of like deposit to hold your spot, but make it refundable for a certain length of time. I could see them doing something like that. Because I can tell you right now, obviously I follow the releases and the Pell Grant, which is the major federal grant, schools aren't even going to be receiving the full information of Pell Grants until April. So if they're making you commit prior to that without knowing, without any level of flexibility, I think that would be really unfair, and they probably wouldn't want to do that because of course they're looking to enroll as many qualified students as possible to their programs. That's what colleges want. We want you to come and be successful. So they would be hindering themselves by not giving you some flexibility. Go ahead.
Do you have to fill a form every year?
You do. Yes. The nice part is once you've created your user ID and password, and as long as you write it down, because I can't tell you the number of times students come in, they're like, I don't remember, and they get locked out. As long as you remember that, when you go to renew your FAFSA, it's going to pre-fill pretty much all your data and make you confirm, oh, you still live at this address, everything looks good, and then moves you right along to your financial consent. So it should be like under 10 minutes to resubmit.
And typically it opens in October. So when you start college next September, the next month you can fill out the FAFSA for the following year.
Mm-hmm.
That's when it typically opens, but because of all the changes they made, they delayed it until
December 31st.
Yeah.
And even
Also
then I know
January
there was
1st.
issues, trying to log in.
I know that when you fill it in again, do you need to fill in your parents' information again?
Yes.
So like what if something changes?
Well, that happens. You mean like a parent gets divorced and you're living with one other parent, or you get married, or you have a kid?
Like maybe their job changes or maybe
So job changes wouldn't remove the need for parental data. What I can say is the FAFSA looks at prior year's taxes. So the 24-25 FAFSA that you're going to use to go to college next fall is looking at the 2022 tax year. We're already in 2023. Why do they do that? Because most people didn't have their tax data available to fill it out October 1st. So they go assuming that people didn't have any major changes to their jobs. People do have changes to their jobs. So what happens is the schools that you decide to shop around with, they should be able to do an appeal process with you, where we go in, if you say, oh, my parents lost their job today. Let's say my parent lost their job January 24th. Is that what the date is? Yeah, January 24th. Okay, well, we'll go in and change the numbers to only look at what they've made so far this year. and we'll reevaluate. One of the benefits to community colleges, because I've worked at non-community colleges, prior to this, her and I both worked at Johnson & Wales, which is a private college. We're open to the community and we're here to help you. Some colleges won't help you fill out the FAFSA form. They make you do it yourself, and it's tougher to get that help and that access. We're walking distance down the road and we're open door. We will help you start to finish. So any questions you have, we have a designated person that answers the phone all day for financial aid. We have a designated email, and we have financial aid counselors that are distributed by your last name letter group, which are on our website, that you can reach out to. Their email address is on there. So we're very, very accessible. You can walk in, you can call, you can email. We do Zoom appointments, in-person appointments, phone appointments. So take advantage of the resources that you guys have, because there's a lot of schools that don't provide that, and being that you're our neighbor, now you know where to find us. We're all there. What about you guys? Do you guys have anything that you feel like we missed that you want us to add for students?
I'm just gonna bring that up.
All right. Making me think this morning, Scott. Thank you. Okay. I don't know how much you guys follow the news, but the state of Massachusetts passed a tuition equity law. And what that means is students who are not here as a legal citizen or eligible non-US citizen are now eligible for in-state tuition rates, which they weren't previously, and they're also eligible for state grants, assuming they qualify. So this is very, very new. We just sat in a meeting yesterday for them to show us, but the state of Massachusetts actually created a mock FAFSA form, because students that don't have a social security number, that aren't here, quote unquote, legally, can't fill out a FAFSA form. It'll reject. Well, the state created their own version of FAFSA that students will fill out, and they will determine based on that information, meaning your household size, your family's income, other things, if you qualify for state grants that are need-based grants, and you will be allowed to receive those. So they've created this separately from any federal funds, and this is to make sure that all students have access to college in the state of Massachusetts. So if you're concerned about not having the eligibility to receive grant funds or go to college because maybe you don't have the appropriate documentation to fill out the FAFSA, no fear, because the state created something separate. And I know there's been a lot of apprehension from families and students worrying about, well, if we're undocumented and we give this information, they're going to report it, or what's going to happen. It does not get reported. Everything is protected. There is no penalty to you filling this out. We want you to come forward and fill it out. And you know, the colleges in the state of Massachusetts, they've all been given forms and procedures to follow to be able to assist you with this process. So if yourself or anyone you know is, you know, had in their mind that they can't go to college because they can't afford it and they don't have the paperwork, that's changed. So please feel free to reach out to Financial Aid at Bristol if you have specific questions to your own personal household or somebody you know that you're trying to help, and we'll help walk you through the process. All the information can also be found on the Mass Department of Higher Education's website. If you just Google tuition equity, it'll bring you, it's the first thing that pops up. It's been a huge talking point. I've sat in a lot of meetings throughout the state about this. I know they're really excited to push it forward, so please don't be afraid to access those benefits if you find yourself falling into that bracket of student population. What else? No.
Parents that don't have a social, but the student is a citizen, they can create FSA IDs.
Yes. You guys may have not bumped into this yet, because if you haven't filled out a FAFSA or haven't come across this circumstance, it has changed. It didn't used to be this way. We do have students who are citizens, but their parents are not. And previously, that would kind of stop the student from being able to complete the FAFSA all the way because the parent couldn't sign it. Now, they're allowing parents that don't have a social to create an FSA user ID and password. So they should be able to walk through the whole process and not have to submit a half completed FAFSA then the school has to reach out and ask you for extra documents, and it just delays the processing time. So you shouldn't have any issues if your parent is not an eligible citizen of the United States. They should still be able to go through the same process like someone who is eligible citizen.
And they would have to because they have to electronically provide the consent for the tax information.
Yep. So there's a lot of people that aren't citizens, but they have a work authorization, so they have something similar to a social. So they still want that tax data. You know, the government still wants to collect income information when they're providing free money. So they always require as much information as possible. Well, thank you guys so much for your time. I know this is like not the funnest of topics to talk about and listen to, but it is really important for you. And I hope that if you didn't take away anything, at least you took away that you can reach out to us with questions, because that's what we're here for.